Dylan's about to be a double C, a Canadian cowabunga boy. What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome back to another episode of StreamerSZN, the exclusive TV and movie podcast for streaming platforms on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB and Dylan coming at you. We've got a big season finale to break down with Miss Marvel. We're going to get into a new segment since we are now in that lull zone that we get into every so often where those week-by-week shows disappear.
Yes,
we got
sir.
some time. We got some time to put on our thinking caps, and we're going to theorize some stuff in the discussion den. And then, of course, we're going to get into everybody's favorite segment, the streaming platform multiverse news and notes. And Dylan, obviously, you know the Rubik's Cube image we use for that. I have some graffiti Rubik's Cube art coming to the studio that will be here soon. I said, I saw it, and I was like, gotta get that. That's streaming platform multiverse right there.
Love that.
But before we get into all of our discussions that we're going to have on this episode, make sure you're following us on the socials at UndergroundPHI, at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. I think this is the first episode we're recording of StreamerSZN since we announced our giveaway as well.
Yes.
It's our pinned tweet over at UndergroundPHI. We're giving away issue number 22 of Wolverine, the Brian Dawkins variant cover. Go check that out. Dylan, they came in this week. They are
awesome.
At the studio, and unbeknownst to me, I thought it was just kind of, a fun variant cover. You and I, having had our frequent visits to the comic book store in Glassboro, shout out to them, we would always look for variant covers with stuff that we enjoyed. These variant covers with Brian Dawkins on the front, they are one of 3,000 in existence. So this is a very limited edition comic book cover that somebody's going to get a chance to win if you go check out our pin tweet at UndergroundPHI. Plus the story is very awesome. If you want to read the book, like the synopsis for it is amazing. Deadpool's involved. Like,
Love that.
Who doesn't love Wolverine and Deadpool? Come on.
Facts.
Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for our written content. As you guys are listening to this, you'll also be able to read Christian's Thor Love and Thunder written review on our website that's coming out tomorrow morning, so make sure you go check that out once that drops on your timelines. And of course, subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. And Dylan, what should they be leaving in the Apple Podcast reviews?
They should be leaving reviews and recommendations as to what you and I, and anyone listening, help thy fellow listener, what we should watch. Like there's tons of binge-worthy television and streaming services out there, and Kyle and I need some help. We're not superheroes. We need some help. And I need help because I'm going to go on vacation. So if you recommend anything, recommend it soon because I'll literally download it and watch it on the airplane.
Plus, Dylan's going. He's crossing borders. He's going to Canada. He's going to let people know in Canada that they got to listen to the show, and they're going to give us those Canadian recommendations, which I'm sure all of them are going to say Schitt's Creek. So make sure you download the podcast, and of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. You get an extra entry into our giveaway if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. So subscribe to Underground Sports Philadelphia on YouTube. That's where you get full video episodes of every single podcast on our network. So click that like button, hit the bell icon, comment section, talk about what we're talking about on the podcast amongst yourselves, and with us, we'll get the conversation flowing, and leave those recommendations in the comment section on YouTube as well. Shout out to the sponsors who make this show happen. Tomahawk Shades, the best small badge eyewear in the game. You guys should be rocking those Blue Light Plus glasses that you can now get in prescription lens form when you're watching your favorite shows and movies. Go to TomahawkShades.com and use code USP for 25% off. That's a ridiculous promo code.
That's a great
25% off your order when you use code USP at TomahawkShades.com. Kenwood Beer, Dylan's favorite beverage of choice when he's heading to AvengerCon. Go to KenwoodBeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You got to be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. And the homies over at Beano Board, I was at a graduation party last weekend. I brought one of the Bino boards with me, Dylan, and it was a wild success.
Really?
So much so that I was like, yeah, I have another one at my house. I drove home the 2.5 minutes down the street, got the other board, and we were having full-blown tournaments at a graduation party. It was electric.
Is incredible. I'm happy to see that it was so popular.
It was electric. And then I had to go back the next day to drop something off, and a couple people were there that didn't realize I was coming to do that. They were like, man, you should have brought the boards with you. I was like, you think I really unpacked my car that late at night when I got home? I got them in my trunk, so we whipped them out again and kept playing. It is the best tabletop game for your man cave, your she shed, tailgates, parties, whatever it may be. Go to BinoBoard.com and use code BinoUSP for 10% off your order at BinoBoard.com. I really want to get a custom board with the TV color bars, which would be sick.
I was looking at the customs last time we were talking about it. I was looking at the custom, and basically, if you go on the website, you can literally upload anything you want, essentially, and get them to make a custom board for you.
It's so dope. And you customize the entire thing, the goals, the bands, the player pieces, your score counter, everything. It's sick. Code BinoUSP at BinoBoard.com.
A month ago, I may have did a customizable Flyers one, but that ship has long since.
Well, it's going to be an Ottawa Senators one now.
Hey, I'm going to Canada, eh?
Claude invited you. We are going to get into what they are calling season finale of Miss Marvel, episode 6, called No Normal.
Allegedly.
Adil and Bilal directing this one. So while Bruno and Kamran are on the run, Agent Deaver orders a citywide lockdown to find the ladder, and Kamala crafts a disguise using a gift from her mother and Kareem's cloth before reuniting with the fellas, and with help from Nakia, Amir, and Zimmer, our girl Zoe. She stays in the school to film those TikToks, Dylan.
It's funny to see TikTok, just like
MCU canon.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Yeah.
And also, I had to question Zoe being in like the theater for filming TikToks, because stage lights are not what you use to film a TikTok, sweetie. We got to check her TikTok numbers, because if she's using that for lighting, they might not be doing that well.
Kyle's hitting her with a listen.
Listen, I know a thing or two about theater lighting.
Listen, sweetie.
So they all stall the DODC agents with some, Home Alone tactics, using that skeleton with the knife, some flubber-like foam, which was very cool to see the animation of that. And Cleary orders a retreat, but Deaver ignores him, leads a detachment of agents in storming the school where Kamala and her friends are hiding, and arrests everyone except for Kamala and Kamran, who confront Deaver. She attacks him, but Kamala fights off the agents, allowing for her friends to escape. And Deaver flees and is later relieved of her duties by Cleary. And Kamala becomes a beloved figure in her community and takes the superhero name Miss Marvel from her father, as we find out Kamala in Pakistan translates to Marvel. So she has always been their little Miss Marvel. The family ties in this show are
pretty
flawless.
Cool, yeah, I was gonna say it's cool to see how they can tie in things of that nature and it be pretty seamless. I mean, obviously I don't speak Pakistan, so it's cool to know that they literally put that right in front of you. You know what I mean? It means that. And I say it every week, but it really is just cool to get a different point of view in terms of the culture of the show, etc. And it's that's where I've grown to slowly like the show each week, in terms of it's a breath of fresh air. In terms of it's not the same thing, it's not stereotypical superhero. I mean, there's very much stereotypical tropes and themes, but in terms of background and culture and setting, it's not anything like we've seen before in the MCU.
Yeah, and to have her mom kind of, be so closed off to this whole concept of her family ties and everything, to then, come around and be on board with her being a superhero, makes her costume for her, and then her dad, who's also a giant, it was in front of Kamala the entire time that her parents are just giant Avengers fans. They're giant superhero people. When, they took the time to sew the 2 Hulk costumes, her dad paints his face green earlier in the season to go to AvengerCon, and for them to kind of know that she was, Miss Marvel the entire time, or Nightlight, whatever you want to call her, from that point, to know that they knew the whole time, we're okay with it. And then her mom makes her costume from pieces of, articles of clothing, fabrics, and everything that she collected along her journey of this show from people that she cares about and that care about her. And then her dad to kind of give her that final piece of the name, I thought was such a cool, peak of what this show is like all about, which is like family and self-discovery and that journey of figuring out yourself. I thought, her parents being the beginning of it, and then also being the thing that ties it all together, was a very cool touch for Miss Marvel.
Yeah, no, the family ties are very much a major staple of the show, and I like that, because every one of the live action Marvel things have kind of danced around like family. Some have had other topics, but this is like a legit family. The other ones were more or less a little more, I guess, jaded, like WandaVision. Like, there's a theme of family there, but that's not really your average family. Loki, it's kind of about family, but it's about finding, So my point is, it's nice to see like a legit functioning, very much healthy and the superhero in terms of how families go. Kamala's family is very, very much normal for that realm anyway, for that world.
Yeah, like Kamala's family is like the first non-broken family in the MCU that we can think of.
Yeah, there's the memes where it's like, oh, you want to be a superhero, and then it's like, Mom, Dad, because quite a few of them have tragic backstories, so it's cool to see someone, like the different twist, if you will, like her actually having a supportive brother, mom, dad, friend, best friend. Not just, not like a struggle bus story. Well, she's struggling in different regards, but you know what I mean? In terms of having a support system, she very much has that.
Yeah, 100%. And, Kamala finally, says the thing. She says embiggen. She gets the stretchiness. She gets the Nor light to kind of grow around her. And, we get that embiggening of her limbs and everything that everybody was crying about 6 weeks ago, that it wasn't going to happen. Well, guess what, nerds? It happened. And she was able to punch a hole in the ground so deep that Kamran was able to go through the hole to escape and get to Pakistan to meet Kareem, as arranged by Kamala. And then the biggest part of this episode, I would say, outside of the mid-credit scene that we'll get to in just a bit, is the 1 week later when Kamala and her friends are hanging out. Bruno tells her that he's going to Caltech, but he did one last look at her jeans, and it's something that her family lacks, Dylan, and it's something different about her jeans, like a mutation. And cue the 90s X-Men theme subtly in the background.
That theme song, let me tell you, you have to be under a rock to not know that theme song, because it is so iconic. Like, even my father or my mother, who aren't really superhero people, and that's under a category of choice, if I play that, they would 112% know exactly, oh, that's the old X-Men cartoon. It's just it's a banger, honestly.
I was surprised that they went that route, and I see a lot of people kind of torn about it online, simply because in the comics, obviously, Kamala is an Inhuman rather than a mutant. What I think, just as a kind of prediction, is that there's going to be something in the MCU canon where, like, anybody who's a mutant, Inhuman, whatever it may be, like, you start off as a mutant. And then if you get exposed to that Terrigen Mist or whatever it may be in the MCU to create the Inhumans, it affects that mutated gene. And then that's how we determine who's a mutant, who's an Inhuman, and we go that path where everybody is technically starting off as a mutant or has that mutant gene, and then something triggers it to affect where you're not exactly a mutant, you're a little bit different, because Kamal also says, oh, it's just another label. So I think they're starting it off with that, and obviously I think everybody's also forgetting that, like, in 2023, X-Men 97 is coming back to Disney Plus and picking up where it left off in the 90s, and
which I have no idea where it left off in the 90s.
Yeah, like, you and I were, you were like 1 year, you were a year old when it ended, and I was like 4, so like, we're going to be able to experience it truly for the very first time with like cognizant knowledge. But I feel like everybody's forgetting that more than likely is going to be MCU canon moving forward now that Disney owns all of the X-Men properties and everything. So that playing in, plus we just saw in Multiverse of Madness Professor X in the X-Men 97 costume with the X-Men 97 hover vehicle. Like, they're hinting at X-Men 97 in a lot of things that they're doing, and I think this is just another addition to that. But this is the very first time MCU canon-wise that we've heard the M word, mutation, mutant. This is the first time that we've heard it, because typically we've heard enhanced. We heard enhanced back in episode 1 when we had the mid-credit scene with Cleary and Deaver. But Bruno gets the opportunity to drop that, and my thought process with Bruno, since he's going to California, Dylan, is that he's going to somehow link up with the leader of whoever the West Coast Avengers will be, and Bruno's going to be doing some stuff with the West Coast Avengers.
Makes sense, because in the comics, he is Kamala's sidekick who, procures like gadgets and things of that nature for her. So that'd be a good experience for him. I do like, it's interesting for like the mutation word, mutant, to finally be thrown canonically into the MCU. It's exciting. I understand how people are skeptical and torn because there are different ways and different comic runs in which this kind of comes into fruition. So I understand, if you're like on the fence, I'm not going to knock you for it. I mean, truth be told, I probably would have rather had Wanda create it, but maybe she still somehow creates it and they'll link that, But no, it's just exciting because X-Men is such a big property, and like there's the icon, the legends really, I guess 3 actors, but I'd say when you think of the OG X-Men, you think of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, right? And you think of Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X. And you can think of the newer ones too, and you can think of Ian McKellen as Magneto. But like, you think of those 2 first, and they're iconic characters. Like, it's almost to the point where we're going to probably, in the next couple of years, and you guys can call me out on it, but I think we'll all agree that when they announce a new Wolverine, it's going to be World War III on that motherfucker. People are going to be torn. They'll be like, ew, him? Hugh Jackman would never. But like, the show must go on in terms of now Disney has the right to X-Men, so they want to very much incorporate it, especially because, in my opinion, I feel like they're low key, running out of I don't want to say content or ideas, but I feel like they didn't possibly think the MCU would go on this long and be this successful. So I feel like it's going to hit a wall eventually, which is why, if not, it may have already hit a wall in your opinion. Which is why I think X-Men is so crucial to introduce and do it well, and have it hopefully hit the ground running. And also like the Fantastic Four, another like little, even though they kind of have both. The point is, like, introducing these 2 things in the nearby future is going to help the MCU have like more longevity, and it'll also open up like different doors. So like that scene is huge. Like, it's not very much a big deal. Just curious to see how quickly they act upon that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And I think another thing we have to take into account is a movie we hope gets released on time later this year with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Allegedly, Namor is going to be in that movie, and he is like the first documented mutant in the comics. So there's, I think that's another reason why they're introducing it now, is so that when they get to Wakanda Forever, they can just seamlessly, call Namor a mutant and move forward with that. There's been some images rolling around too that, there's been some blue Atlanteans, Dylan, and a lot of people are saying, well, maybe the blue arm in Miss Marvel that the bangle is attached to could be someone who's Atlantean rather than Kree. I think either one could be true. I think I still lean more towards it being the Kree because of the connection to Miss Marvel, the connection to the Ten Rings. But I do like that idea. But we get the M word dropped for the very first time, and then we get a mid-credit scene where Kamala lays on her bed. The bangle emits a glow that's different from the initial glow that we've seen from the bangle.
Yes.
And then we get this kooky, wild teleportation sequence, and Kamala bursts through the door through this squiggly purple thing, and then standing up in the bedroom, looking confused about her surroundings, is the one and only Brie Larson, Miss Danvers herself, suddenly appearing in her place with a new look costume, new look haircut, and then it cuts to our typical newly introduced black screen that says Miss Marvel will return in the Marvels. I believe the post-credit scene there was a play on what happens in the comics where Kamala turns into Captain Marvel. But in this instance, for me, because she didn't have the bangle on, I think they kind of, and she was confused about like her surroundings more so than the body she was in. I do think that was, really Miss Marvel there, but I think they just swapped places rather than transformed into one another.
So Freaky Friday?
Yes and no, where they're still in their bodies, they just transported places. So like wherever Carol was, I think that's now where Kamala is at. And wherever Kamala, obviously being in her bedroom in Jersey City, and we saw Carol Danvers being there, I think that's what happened there. But I'm curious where, and I'm sure we'll obviously see it in the Marvels, I'm curious where Kamala is at now. I like the idea of people saying that Carol was out looking for...
I got stuck in the upside down. No, Kyle texted me. I was lagging a little bit. Does it sound better?
Yeah, I think it's a little better now.
Okay, so I have to refresh.
But I like the idea that Carol was out, and because we saw her. And I think a lot of people too are forgetting that Miss Marvel was in the post-credit scene for Shang-Chi, and like dipped out like sneakily, and not sneakily, but like dipped out like on a whim, like real quick, had to go. I like the idea that people are floating around that Carol was out looking for the second bangle.
I didn't even think about that. I'm shook. I like that. No, that makes sense. Because Carol's she's a good character. She's a good person, but I don't want to say she's power hungry, but like she has an ego. So, and then she also like has a sense of I don't know, like duty. So it would kind of fit in for her to look for something of that nature.
Especially since she was just on a conference call with Bruce Banner and Wong talking about ancient tech, ancient things, and it's the Ten Rings were something that didn't look like Kree tech to her, and she knows all about Kree tech, obviously. So I do like that idea that potentially Carol was looking for the second bangle. That's what happened, and they switched places, and now Kamala could potentially be in possession of both if that's the case, which would be really cool, and maybe that's what unlocks her full embiggening powers. But I think they stuck the finale really, really well for this show. I think it lost you and I along the way at some parts. I think there were some parts that we both agreed this show, we kind of wished it would have been maybe like 8 episodes instead of 6.
Yeah.
But the early episodes, some of the character introductions and some of the plot, we really enjoyed, and I think the finale really like stuck the landing to make this show something that is a really good property. And I think Iman Vellani was a perfect casting for Miss Marvel. I think Bruno was great. I think Kamran's character is great.
Yeah, I read that Bruno's actor actually was one of the finalists to play Spider-Man.
Yeah, which I think is also very, very funny that he's around now. But I think the introduction of, mutants and mutations being thrown around, I think this is one of the cooler mid-credit scenes we've gotten in a long time. And I did see some people saying they think that potentially the directors or videographers for the Marvels shot the post-credit scene for this because it looked a little different cinema-wise than the show did, which I think a lot of people are starting to do. Like, if you're going to include a character in a future project, whatever that future project is, they typically have those people shoot the post or mid-credit scenes for it. So
Yeah.
it kind of equates and lines up that way. But I think the show is really entertaining. It's a good family story, like we said earlier. And I think they did a lot of good things for the MCU with this show, which leads us, Dylan, to our 7th rating of a series
7?
this year. Number 7.
Talk about practice?
For the people at home, we have rated The Book of Boba Fett, Peacemaker Season 1, Daredevil, Moon Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Stranger Things Season 4 is our most recent, and now Miss Marvel adding into the MCU ratings. Dylan, for Miss Marvel, where is she clocking in on your rating scale? Well, actually, let's first do our episode 6 like we always do.
So, episode 6 is going to be a lot higher than I probably scored the other ones. Most of the other ones were like, I think 1 or 2 I rated below 7. Most were like at 7. I would say this past episode was probably, for me, like a 7.6, 7.5. It was pretty decent. I like the credit scenes. I like the hint, or not the hint, the hard realization of mutants, and I liked the Carol Danvers cameo. So I the plot was, it stayed kind of the same, but the credit scenes kind of really propelled it for me in terms of, like, I'm a big X-Men guy. So.
Mm-hmm. I think
still lagging. I'm sorry, folks. I'm a robot.
This episode, I'm gonna give it an 8.7. I think it, like I said, it stuck the landing really, really well. I think the introduction of mutation into the MCU, verbiage and everything is huge. I think the post-credit scene was great. I like the visual effects of this episode. I thought the team up, let's go be kind of like Home Alone-esque in the school was very fun. And, just a story of family kind of being tied up in this one as well was very cool. So I'm going to give this episode, for episode 6, an 8.7. And then, Dylan, where does Miss Marvel as a series come in on your ranking scale? For the people at home, to recap Dylan's scores so far, he gave the Book of Boba Fett a 7 out of 10, Peacemaker Season 1 a 9.5 out of 10, Daredevil as a series a 9 out of 10, Moon Knight a 9.1 out of 10, Obi-Wan Kenobi a 7.9 out of 10, and Stranger Things Season 4 a 9.1 out of 10.
I will do this show justice and give it a higher score than Book of Boba Fett. I will give it a 7.1 because it definitely wasn't as bad as Book of Boba Fett. So, Kamala, you are 7.1, which is C, and C gets degrees, girl.
I'm gonna do the same. To recap my scores for the same shows, I went 8.4 out of 10 for Book of Boba Fett, 9.4 for Peacemaker Season 1, 9.5 for Daredevil, 9.7 for Moon Knight, 8.8 for Obi-Wan, and Stranger Things Season 4 got a 9.9 out of 10 for me. Miss Marvel was very enjoyable, but there were moments that this show did like lose me in a sense of like direction of where they felt they were going. But then I thought episode 6 really recaptured like the magic that they had in those first couple of episodes. So I'm going to give Miss Marvel to go above the Book of Boba Fett. It'll be an 8.6 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
So the people at home, some quick math on that one.
Because we're not good at it.
8.6 plus 7.1 is 15.7. Divided by 2 is 7.85, which rounds up to a 7.9 out of 10. And Dylan, that still clocks in as an overall score better than the Book of Boba Fett. So 7.9 out of 10 in my book. That's still pretty damn good, I think, for this show where you and I both agreed the clandestine thing was very weird. That was something that kind of really turned me off from this show. And then just kind of the shortened length of the show was kind of a bummer, where I felt like this was a show that would have really benefited a lot from 2, maybe 3 additional episodes to kind of stretch the story out and give you more breathing room to tell this story. That was a really well thought out, plot and everything. I just think it needed more time to breathe and more like embiggening, if you will. So 7.9 out of 10 is the official rating for StreamerSZN on Miss Marvel, and Iman Vellani is a rock star in the making. I think she is a 10 out of 10, as Miss Marvel, and I think this is like, for this being her first role ever in an acting space, is phenomenal. She was great. She is a character that I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of in the MCU.
It's incredible to think that's her first role.
It's wild. She was unbelievable. I think the whole Khan family in this show is great, but for this being Iman Vellani's very first acting role on such a grand scale, being the MCU that is always open to criticism from people, I think she did a fantastic job. So hats off to the entire cast, crew, and production team for Miss Marvel on a job well done. But Dylan, that is now going to bring us to a brand new segment for us, and that is the Discussion Den, which I don't know why these aren't changing.
Technical difficulties.
Hold on.
The stream is experiencing got lag on my end. Kyle's clicking the wrong things.
Let's see.
It happens. It happens to the best of us, people. There's just the internet's way of saying have a fun vacation in Canada. Hopefully it's not a sign of bad things to come while I'm there.
Re-add these in and see what happens. There we go. I'm going to actually do something real quick on my end.
What? I'm on 2 screens. Folks, if you're watching right now, I'm on 2 screens. All right, well, so how about that weather? I don't know. I'm sure Kyle's going to cut this. Hopefully. Probably. Maybe. We will find out. See this? This is a lighter. And on the lighter is a hockey team that I fucking hate. But makes a cool sound. So we like that. I'm gonna text Kyle.
Technical difficulties. Had to switch to the laptop.
Hey, bada boom.
Bing bong, bing bong. All right, 3, 2, 1. Now that Miss Marvel's come to a close, Dylan, we are going to pivot to a brand new segment called Discussion Den. This would be something that we bring up whenever Dylan and I are in a pinch, and there's no week. There it is. This will be something when Dylan and I don't have a week by week show to break down for you guys, and we have theories, we have thoughts, we have ideas. And this week we'll have a live unboxing as well, because your boy went a little Christmas in July this week on #NotASponsor Prime Day and did the damn thing. So, Dylan, there's been a wildly popular Stranger Things theory running around that I would love to break down, and I have one of my own that I thought of the other day. But let's get into what everybody's calling the Kaz theory, which is Eddie Munson Stranger Things theory, claiming that Eddie. I mean, he is Daddy Munson in a way, but that Eddie Munson will be brought back in Stranger Things season 5 as an undead vampire known as Kaz. There are many reasons to believe that this theory will be true. Most notably, that Kaz got name dropped in season 4. When the Hellfire campaign was going on, Mike brings up that Vecna had already been killed by Kaz. So D&D lore, Kaz is an undead vampire who is like Vecna's right-hand man until he betrays him, kills him, and he's a vampire. Now, why is the vampire thing so big? Eddie obviously has bats tattoos on him. He got attacked by the demo bats. He was the campaign dungeon master for the Vecna campaign. My big things that I take away from this. Number 1, we never saw Eddie's body fully dead on screen.
That's true. You never see the body, they ain't dead.
They ain't dead. We saw Dustin crying over Eddie's body. We never saw the dead body. Number 2, we've never seen anybody dead or die in the Upside Down. Everybody wants to bring up Barb. We never saw her die, technically, in the Upside Down. We saw her get dragged down. We never saw her die. We saw the body, but we never saw anybody die in the Upside Down, which is still the case because no visual of the body. Eddie, not technically dead. So nobody's died in the Upside Down. 3, time is stuck in the Upside Down in 1983. I feel like that plays a massive part. That is also an aspect that nobody's really talking about with the Kaz theory. So we're stuck in time. Number 4, Kaz, like I said, name dropped earlier in the season. And then, Dylan, I want you to remember back when our boy Vecna was talking to 11 in the Rainbow Room, right after he marked all the other numbers.
Yeah.
And he used specific words to talk to 11 and say, don't worry, they're not gone. They're all right here. He never said that they were dead. He said that they're not gone. I think that was very key and very important word used by the Duffer Brothers right there. That they're not really dead. They're all up here.
Maybe they are dead, but maybe because he, being number 1, shaped and shifted the Upside Down to look like Hawkins. Maybe if he kills them, he can bring them back to life. If he kills them, like, you know what I mean, in his manner. Mm-hmm. So that, I mean, that's not debunking your theory; it's kind of proving it. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As well, it's just adding a little layer to it.
And with this show being so heavily influenced by D&D, Eddie being a dungeon master, leader of the Hellfire Club, he's the most metal ever. Who wouldn't want to see Eddie come back as a vampire? Plus, if he kills Vecna, he gets to be the hero that he truly is and saves Hawkins.
But then he gets to live the rest of the days as a vampire.
Which, allegedly, Season 5 is going to dive into the time travel aspect and why everything's stuck in time in the Upside Down thing.
Apparently,
so maybe that
gets
gets
more of a
explained.
Will approach too, right? Have you read? Have you read
Yeah.
that? Yeah,
I've seen that too, where like it started with him, it's going to end with him. But I am fully on board and fully believing that the Kaz theory is true.
rock the Casbahs, rock the Casbahs.
My other Stranger Things theory that is my own, this is a KB invention. So I was thinking the other day, I was watching a video on YouTube about a theory you and I had that potentially we could see number 8 come back in season 4. And now with one season left, feels like 8's time to return. If they're going to do it, it's going to be in season 5.
It'd have to be.
Yeah, it would have to be. I want to propose the question and the thought to everybody and to you, Dylan. Is 8 in the Stranger Things universe the equivalent of Andrew Garfield to the Spider-Man universe and Hayden Christensen to the Star Wars universe, where season 2 across the board really viewed as the quote-unquote worst season of Stranger Things, and it is due in part to the entire 8 arc of the season.
Yeah.
Everyone before Spider-Man No Way Home viewed the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies as the worst of the 3 iterations of the live-action Spider-Man, and before the sequels, everyone viewed the prequels as, fan service. Hayden Christensen was kind of, memed a bit. Would you categorize 8 in that echelon of Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, as Hayden Christensen as Anakin? Is 8 that to the Stranger Things universe?
So you could be on to something here. I think, truthfully, I'm not trying to cop out of answering you. I think we'll have to see. I think if she has some type of significant role or is even in season 5, then yeah, we can definitely make the argument for that. I obviously, if they retcon her and don't have her in season 5, then no, because she literally only has like an episode and a half of her, and then like a cameo or two in terms of like her name being mentioned. But I think if she has like somewhat like on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being super impactful, like as much as you can, I think as long as she's like a 5+, if she's in season 5, then yes, I would say that there's that turnaround, because then the character, like the foundation, the bricks were laid and they came back to her. You know what I mean? But I guess we'll have to see.
Because I also feel like 8's entire arc, like I feel like 8 is a very likable character in the Stranger Things realm. I think it was just the entire story that she was kind of attached to, with her ragtag crew of misfits, that threw people off and kind of turned people off to that arc of it. Bitchin' is great. It's still brought up to this day. 8 was name dropped in season 4. I feel like 8 is one of those characters that now that we've had some time away from season 2, that people are starting to come around to the idea of her being an important character to 11's story, to the overall story of what the Duffer Brothers are going to tell in this 5-season, arc. I feel like 8 is, if, and this is all dependent on if 8 comes back, but if 8 comes back, I feel like she will be celebrated in the ways that Hayden Christensen coming back for Obi-Wan Kenobi was celebrated. obviously on a much lower scale because there was so much time away from
Yeah, this is
those
only a couple
characters,
years.
and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back, mostly Andrew Garfield, obviously, in
Yeah,
Spider-Man No Way Home. It'll be celebrated kind of in that same vein on a lower scale, just because it has been less time than those two characters. But I feel like 8's arc in the Stranger Things universe is comparable to those two.
I think that's not a bad comparison or a bad theory. I just think it'll truly depend upon what her role is in 5. Like, if she just rolls up and does something minuscule and then leaves, I mean, there still is the argument that, yes, it's like a good comeback story, but the character's kind of like hearsay. But if she does something somewhat impactful, then I think you're hitting the nail on the head here. And then she kind of has the triumphant return that the two actors / characters you alluded to also shared in recent cinema.
Yeah, because I think it's also one of those things where it is the last season, so like you can, if you wanted to kill off 8 at some point, you can do it.
They can do whatever they want. It's their last
Right.
season. Like, we can cry and moan and bitch all we want, but it's their show and it's their last season. They have full control. And I hate to break it to you people, but all the child actors are going to be adults. I think the youngest one, besides Erica, I think Will's still only 7.
Will is 17, yeah.
So by the time they start filming 18 and get done it, they're all going to be 18, 19, 20, etc. So my point is, they're all going to be branching out, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, good for them, but they're all going to be branching out to other aspects of their career. They're going to be going on to other movies. Some of them already have, some of them haven't, or music, etc. So my point is, like, you very well could have a season 5 in which, you know, half of the characters we've grown up and liked may not make it out, and it's all fringed upon what the brothers, you know, view as it's their mastermind plan.
And the Duffer Brothers have said there's not going to be any new characters introduced in season 5. 8 is an old character, just a reintroduction.
It's a callback.
But I do feel like 8 deserves kind of that like triumphant return, and by all accounts, you know, 11's going to need an army to go and fight 1, and
that's why I agree with what you and what others are saying. I don't personally like 8 as a character. It's not our fault. It's just the way it was written. But I do agree, and it's sensible, it's logical. Like, you're going to have to fight, presumably, an army of D&D monsters, potentially, which my theory, in short, is in D&D there's a monster more powerful than Vecna, and it's a dragon, which is the same dragon that Will painted. So we might have to fight that, whether it's Will. Will might become a dragon for all we goddamn know.
Speaking of Vecna.
Hey, yo! I like that. Kyle's the king of segues. He's like, let me. That's not one of the ones you unboxed, right? That's one
it is not, but I saw that and I said, I got to get this for the studio to have awesome. Vecna for the Stranger Things universe. But yeah, I also like the dragon theory too. I forget if we talked about this on our episode 9.
We definitely mentioned the Eddie not being dead thing. I don't know, but I don't know if we mentioned the Will thing. I think we both agreed that Will might switch sides, so to speak, and become a bad guy. Because of, you know, like, kid's gone through a lot.
Cue the Billie Eilish.
Season 1. But I don't know if we talk about the dragon itself. Yeah, there's a red dragon in D&D. It's literally more powerful than Vecna and the Mind Flayer. And Will, that's the painting. It's literally Mike fighting the dragon. And it wouldn't be that much of a stretch to interpret that Will is somehow the dragon in some way, shape, or form, and then Mike is the knight, which we saw fighting the dragon, and it kind of reflects on their relationship at the moment as friends. Like, it's pretty rocky. And Mike is choosing to be, you know, a boyfriend over a brother, a best friend, at this point in the show. You know, he's doing what most people do when they get that first love, that first crush. He's choosing her over everything, and he's negating the fact that Will has been in his life for far longer and has experienced more, I guess, in terms of, like, longevity.
Yeah, 100%. And I like the dragon theory where one way or another it could come up. I've seen people I don't know if in D&D it's the same dragon, but I've seen people call it Tiamat, which has been in a number of shows, including Game of Thrones. There's a Tiamat. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a Tiamat. So like, there's a lot of
very famous dragon boy name.
yeah. So I do like that theory, and I also saw the theory too that the sword Mike is holding in the painting could, if he held on to it, could be the Conan sword that Hopper used to slay the Demogorgon and brought it back with him.
I was gonna that whole episode is an Arnold Easter egg because it's the
so
sword,
good.
and then it's a helicopter. Like, get to the chopper. Like, it's just
no.
It's just literally an Arnold Easter egg.
Arnold is the Demogorgon.
And in season 3, that Russian guy always walks around like Terminator.
The Terminator.
Russian version.
But yeah, I like the dragon theory one way or another coming into play because, like we said, 11's going to need some sort of army to fight Demogorgons, Demodogs, Demobats. I also like that the Stranger Things official account I want to say like a week ago or so, tweeted out a video breaking down all the monsters from the Upside Down, and giving like names to them and everything, which was really cool. And I also love to kind of couple onto the Kaz theory, the costumer from Stranger Things, which I would love to have her on the show. I'm going to try to reach out to her on Instagram. She, over the past couple of weeks, has tweeted out all 5 of Eddie's tattoos that he has. And they're all like hidden Easter eggs to Eddie's character, one way or another, involving things that he does throughout the show. He's got the bats, which Sarah, my sister, is planning on getting one of Eddie's bats and Steve's spike bat tattooed on her. So the That's bats cool. Of Stranger Things added to her tattoos. But he's got the bats. He also has a Puppet Master tattoo, which is very cool. And he's got a number of them. We'll have to screenshot them and tweet them out. But they're all like kind of like trailer parky, like, bad lines and everything. So adds into his character, but I love how his tattoos tie in.
He probably drew them himself.
Probably. But I think that also adds into the Kaz theory, where there's so many tattoos that kind of tell his story and everything. He also has a skull on his chest that's kind of always hidden by his shirt, which I think, hey, dead, undead. I think his tattoos play a part in his story as well. But there's a lot of Stranger Things theories that we have that we're going to be talking about probably for the next 2 years on this show, which is very exciting. I showed off the Vecna Funko Pop, which, Dylan, it does come with an exclusive D20 die. All the D&D Funkos come with an exclusive D20, which I think is very cool.
Now show us the other Funko Pops. Do it already.
So we got some unboxings to do here for the people.
We already put on our tinfoil hats. Now it's time to unbox.
So box number 1. These are both from the same show, just different ones, but they are long overdue to be in the studio. So number 1, we've got Mando with Grogu. Had to be done.
Our favorite green child.
And then
probably only green child I know, though.
That obviously that one being from season 2, when he takes his helmet off. And then we've got this one here, which I think is really badass.
Oh, if it's a jetpack one, I'm going to be hyped.
This one, it is an exclusive to the Bezos.com.
Jeffrey Bezos.
We got the chromed out Mando.
He's got the drip.
He's got that drip.
I have a Mando one somewhere. I don't know where he's at.
But I think
I have one with him like on a jetpack or something.
Felt it was long overdue to have some Mando Funko Pops in the studio to go along with the Halloween Wanda and Vision that we have over on where Matt typically sits for the main pod. We have Mandalorian Legos over there as well.
Love it.
And then obviously we have the entire like Venomverse behind me, along with now Vecna, and the This Is Fun dog is also down there.
That
which
meme becomes
we did.
more true every day.
We did add up here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but right there, Venomized Thor is now in the collection.
Kyle is if you don't know this, he is a big Venom stan. Probably next in line to get the symbiote.
Sign me up. But yeah, had to get the Mandos because that is one of that was the staple of kind of this iteration of Streamer Season coming to be, was us doing the week by week breakdowns for Mando Season 2.
Mandalorian is quite literally the reason that we're here.
It is a foundation and anchor of this show.
But what a great show to start off on, because quite frankly, season 1 of the Mandalorian is pretty goated.
Yeah. And then to go into season 2 the way that season 2 was
yeah, and it even had its own spin-off show, The Book of the Mandalorian. So that was really cool too.
the Book of Mando Fett.
Pretty much, sadly.
I know you said you had some theories potentially as well for the discussion then, Dylan.
Yeah, it was. Well, I said the one. It was I agree with the vampire thing for Eddie. Secondly, I think I've mentioned it before, where I think that number 1 is the father of all the children in the lab. I did the math. He would be like 18 or 17 or 19, so he wouldn't be like creepily young. So it fits the time gap, or the age gap, because he's like 28 when he's talking to 11, and he's the whole creepy vibe. Which, if you've seen Courage the Cowardly Dog, Kyle might know where I'm going. No, but this guy reminds me of the dude that's naughty.
Oh,
same
fuck.
Vibes. If you don't know, you know. If you don't know, I'm sorry. Also, shout out to Courage. That dude's not cowardly. My man's fighting for his life every day. So I think the dragon thing, I agree with the vampire. I also saw, not really a theory, it's more of like an Easter egg. I was rewatching Stranger Things with my brother, and now that I clicked, there's a scene where Billy is having that awkward ass dinner when he's possessed and with that lifeguard girl. He crosses his arms and stands just like number 1 when he talks to 11. So, I mean, we kind of learned that like number 1 was like, you know, the big shot. You gotta be a big shot. No, but he's in control. But it's cool because that you think the voice changing of Billy in season 3 is him being possessed or like unleashing the dark side, but in reality, it's literally number 1 projecting himself through Billy, like via a host or symbiote, to give a little Easter egg to Venom. So that was something cool. That's really it for Stranger Things. I don't really have any other. Well, I did see Marvel Easter eggs. I saw someone tweeted out in one of the Marvel films. It got leaked, a footage or a still of Doctor Doom, like an edit. So that's kind of one of Kyle's nice theories that we're going to get Mr. Von Doom, which would make sense because they're incorporating like Atlanteans. Now we got Kree, obviously. We had the people from Miss Marvel. I already forget their name because they're so irrelevant and useless. But
Clandestines.
There you go. Thanks. My point is, we're getting all these like subclasses.
We're getting Howard Stern.
That's true. That we talked about that before too. But my point is, like, all these like races essentially, and like alien, humanoids, etc. We're getting all these like subclasses. It'd be like if you're watching DC and like for the first time they reveal like the Amazonian women. You know what I mean? Like you're getting these things that aren't exactly human. So my point is, Victor Von Doom runs and rules the country of his own. Some may say unfairly. I see him as a just ruler. No, I'm kidding. So I think we're leading up to that point. I think that's going to be the Easter egg. And also, I keep seeing people on TikTok saying if they're going to have Doom in, they have to play a certain rap group, rap song which would be an awesome way to introduce that character.
Big time. And I think a couple other things I saw. one thing I wanted to bring up before we get into the streaming platform multiverse. I've been talking to some people about this. I wanted to pick your brain, Dylan. I right now view the pantheon, if you will, the Mount Rushmore of nerd culture in terms of franchises, universes, whatever you want to declare it as. No particular order. Marvel, Star Wars, Stranger Things, and The Boys. I think those four right now, in terms of nerd culture, pop culture, cult following, I think those four right now are reigning supreme. And part of that might be that Stranger Things and The Boys just had recent seasons released that did wildly well.
Yeah.
But I feel like Stranger Things and I feel like The Boys, even though I've never seen The Boys, you just started your full-blown run of it, which I'll be starting soon, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as we move along.
It's the goddamn roller coaster, man. That show is something else.
I feel like those two franchises in particular have a stranglehold on nerd culture more so than like DC does.
Yeah, I agree. I think DC is obviously never going to go away. Like, it will still always be in nerd culture just because it's so iconic. Especially when you do have the off hits. Like, I didn't like Aquaman, but it did do very well box office wise. So clearly people did like it. And Robert Pattinson's Batman did very well, rightfully so, because it actually was a well shot movie. So there's like for as many hits and as jokes as they take, they randomly pump out a good property to kind of keep them afloat and relevant. Even the Snyder cut of Justice League was better than what we got before.
And you and I both agree that anything James Gunn touches in DC is saving the DCEU.
But I do agree. I mean, Marvel is just so relevant. I guess it's not even a theory. It's like a hot take. Not even a hot take. Is that I do think Marvel, in my honest opinion, and this is not a knock, flame me if you want, you or people listening, I do think Marvel is shifting to a quantity over quality ratio for content, in my opinion. I think if they dialed it down a little bit and just focused, and because I was reading reports that like the one major company they use for CGI, like they don't like each other. Like the company hates working for Marvel and vice versa, or for Disney, because they have very strict standards. And I mean, granted, you have to accept the contract; it's their fault. They're liable. But at the same time, I'm not going to pretend like I know CGI and editing work is is incredibly hard, and to do anything of that nature is amazing. So my point is, I just think if Disney/Marvel, Kevin Feige, listen to me. I think if you just pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not saying don't give us Marvel content. I'm a nerd. But just do like a movie and a show a year. I think you'd have better longevity. Or maybe you could even do 1 and 2, like a movie and 2 shows a year. I think it'd be easier. I think people would get more excited again for things. People would stop bashing you online because your CGI team company would have more time to properly edit and render things. And I think all will be right. And that's kind of what the formula was besides the shows when they got so popular. Like, it was like a movie or 2 movies a year came out. It was like you got a solo movie, and then like every other year you got kind of like a team up movie, and then it kept progressing. And I understand comics are like ever changing and evolving, but you truthfully can never carbon copy, obviously, what comics have in live media, because comics are either connected or they're complete one-off random stories. Like, there's literally a comic book universe where the Punisher kills every Marvel hero. Now, granted, would I love to watch John Berthal murder all the other Avengers? Admittedly, yes. And Kyle probably low-key agrees to that, but that's beyond the point. Because that would be
that'd be a fun what if.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a movie or a episode of What If, or a hour-long block, and then it'd be done, never to be touched again. My point is, when you have the continuity of what they're trying to do with the phases, which I respect that, you can only go so far until you kind of have to hit like a reset button almost, because that kind of does happen in comics.
I think the thing with Marvel that I'm like noticing is the first 3 phases of the MCU, that was the Infinity Saga, like, initially they didn't realize that it was going to build into a universe. Like, if you watch Iron Man 1, you can view that as a standalone movie, and it still holds up to this day, even though it was made in 2008.
That's what I'm saying. That CGI is better than some of the newer films, and that's
And
not good.
I think as they progressed through the Infinity Saga, they knew their end point. Like, they knew what it was building to once they filmed that first Avengers movie, had Thanos introduced. They knew what they wanted to build to. Right now, I think it's tough because the multiverse is a thing, and the introduction of Kang the Conqueror happened in Loki, as his variant being He Who Remains. But Kang as Kang is not being introduced until 2023. And Kang is allegedly going to be that next Thanos being in the MCU for a much longer span because it's the multiverse, because Kang has so many variants of who he is. You can tap him into so many projects. I think it's just tough to stick landings almost with the storytelling, and that's why I think a lot of people are like so like thrown off by Marvel right now and don't know the direction they're going.
Well, it's hard, you know. Like, we had the conversation. We've kind of talked about, you and I. We've always talked about it. Like, I've made references of you. When you introduce new characters, you kind of have to explain what they were doing during the blip and et cetera, because it's like Moon Knight, for example. It's like, this is a relatively he has the power of of a god. Like, well, what was he doing when everything went on? And it's like, okay, there's other heroes we haven't seen yet. Like, I don't know, like the Fantastic Four. What were they doing? What were they doing when everything happened? You know, well, they're not real yet. Like, or how about, like, very on topic, we just talked about it, like X-Men, like mutants. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one on Earth until Kamala was a mutant. Like, Professor Xavier was just a normal guy, not a wheelchair. Logan Logan had to exist because his whole point is he lives for like ever almost. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's a plot holes, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to fill in. And that's also part what you said, the phases, and also part the copyright issues, and not entirely Disney, Marvel, Kevin Feige's fault at all, but it's just very hard for him to tie everything together, and I just think they're going to reach a point, I hope I'm wrong, but I think they're going to reach a point where too many things are going to get like sloppily tied together, and they're just going to have to reset, like a soft, hard reset one way or another.
Which I think, not to cut you off, but I think they're building towards that kind of reset with Doctor Doom, allegedly, thanks Howard Stern, being on the table with Secret Wars, because that is kind of the reset in the comics with everything, because all the variants come through. It's a full-fledged battle, and that's going to be, you know, this phase, or if it's even phase 5 down the line, whenever Secret Wars happens, that's going to be the next Infinity War Endgame type thing, and that's going to be the big time like reset almost on the MCU.
Yeah, and I for one am not against them resetting. I'm just nervous as a nerd because depending upon how you reset it, it's kind of like, look at comics, right? You can kind of see what superheroes are popular and what superheroes aren't based upon how many standalone comics they get, how many features they get, and like longevity, and also how many times they've been like reset or killed. Like, Captain America literally gets his ass murked in the comics by a sniper, and then magically gets essentially like revived, and that's part by design. But I also feel like because they literally, I remember I wasn't reading comics then, and I got like the Snapchat notification like Captain America assassinated, and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't care. Like, I mean, I care. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't. But the point is, it was a big deal. It's kind of like in certain versions of DC Comics, Superman dies. People are like, "Oh my God, Superman's dead!" And then someone's like, stick him in the oven. It's the sun, and he's back to. But like, my point is, like, it'd be interesting because they have to nail it right. Because if we don't center the new reset around characters people care about, then no one's gonna care. Not no one, but people won't care as much as they did. And it's hard because, you know, like, it kind of goes back to our theory and my theory on like, people die too quickly in the movie universe, and you kind of can't control that once again because it's hard to do the comic book blueprint. But like, you have all these villains that are already dead, And unless you like bring them back to life some weird how way or like different universes, it's like they're dead in ours. So it's like you have to seek other villains. And then also it goes back to the continuity. What were these other villains doing while these other villains were doing their thing? Because quite a few villains are villains for like a long time. Like most villains don't just hit like 40 and they're like, I'm gonna pursue a life of crime. Like, like you know what I mean?
That's why I'm so intrigued by the Daredevil season 4 that's coming to Disney Plus to kind of see how they approach where Daredevil and Kingpin were, which intrigues me a lot. Which we got a lot of news to talk about, everybody. So we're gonna get into your favorite gosh darn segment. It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our homies over at Pickup. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports. They are sponsoring our Big Bash live stream, which is our second annual Home Run Derby live stream involving myself, DJ, Pat Pitts, and Stephen McAvoy, just like we did last year. And there's a big bet on the table, Dylan, between myself and Stephen McAvoy, known New York Mets fan, being that Pete Alonso is going for the 3-peat in the Home Run Derby. Kyle Schwarber is in the Home Run Derby. We have a bet that I am going to propose to Pickup as well, so you can ride with either one of us. If Kyle Schwarber wins the Home Run Derby, Stephen McAvoy has to purchase me a Kyle Schwarber jersey, but before it comes to me, he has to wear it on the Get in the Hole podcast. And on the flip side, if Pete Alonso wins the Home Run Derby, I have to buy him a Pete Alonso jersey. But before I send it to him, I have to wear it on Underground Sports Philadelphia.
Hey, if you're gonna do a bet, that's the kind of bet to go, and I respect that.
And if neither win, we just call it even and nothing happens. So that prop will be available on Pickup coming into the Home Run Derby on Monday night. So tune into our live stream brought to you by the homies over at Pickup. Start playing the hottest headlines in sports at playpickup.com.
I love that for both of you.
It's going to be electric. Dylan, we have a new member on the cast of Ironheart. It is a familiar face to you.
Really?
Yes.
I admittedly have not really followed much into that show, so I do not know who you're talking about.
I don't know if it's going to excite you, make you scratch your head, or disappoint you. Alden Ehrenreich, a.k.a. Young Han Solo from the Solo movie, has joined.
That movie's not bad, but it's not good. It's like in that it's in that 6 to 7 range, you know? It's like you watch it on TV, you're not mad, you'll keep watching it, but if someone asks what you're watching, you'll just respond, just flipping. Because you're like, don't really admit to it. No, I mean, good for him, though. He's a young actor. Does that what character he's playing? Or
does not, but the way that... I could see him playing some sort of villain.
Yeah, he's kind of got that face. He's young enough to be maybe like not a marquee villain, but like a reoccurring villain.
Mm-hmm. Here's another fun one. Ryan Gosling has debunked the rumors that he is playing Nova in the MCU, but he did say the character he wants to play in the MCU.
I saw this.
He wants to be Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he wants to be in the MCU, he said. I did see that Chris Evans wants to be in Star Wars. And I think Zac Efron wants to be in MCU. There's a couple actors that say they want to be in MCU, which is cool. You respect it. But I don't know if I would like him as Ghost Rider. I honestly want the actor from The Walking Dead to play Ghost Rider.
The only reason I'm intrigued by it is simply by our Midnight Suns wish casting. I feel like he'd be very fun in that team up event with the Moon Knights, the Doctor Strange,
I just
Wong.
want a more grizzled actor. Nothing against Ryan Gosling. It's just that's kind of what that character is. Like Ghost Rider should not be a character. He shouldn't have that many funny quips. Like, I'm not saying he should be completely 112% serious, but like on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being, never making a joke, he should be, Ghost Rider should probably be like an 8, 8.5 in terms of like, it's not, it's not really a character that makes jokes often. Like, he's on the more serious scale. I mean, that tends to happen when you make a pact with the literal devil and collect souls.
Mephisto?
Mephisto, yeah. Not much room for humor for him.
This one's a fun little piece of news here. I don't know if you saw this one, Dylan. Statues of Breaking Bad characters Walter White and Jesse Pinkman will soon be unveiled in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Did not see that, but that's really cool. That show's iconic, so I'm glad they got it. Oh, actually, speaking of statues, I know they're doing a boys spin-off about them being in college. Well, not them. I think just college in general. I'm not sure. And I know whatever college it is, they already have like the statues up, but they're like covered in like trash bags and like tarp. But you can clearly see they're like superhero statues. So that's interesting, and that's news. So there's going to be a boys spinoff about like a superhero themed college. So basically Sky High, but more violent and gross in college.
Yeah, that's going to be unreal. Just yesterday, Dylan, on Wednesday, July 13th, my favorite movie of all time was released 12 years ago, Christopher Nolan's Inception.
To this day, I wonder, is that dreidel still spinning?
I'm curious. No, that is one of the best movies of all time.
I think people debunked it, and I think more people, like people who have bigger brains than you and I think most people think he wasn't dreaming.
Interesting. Movie that we will definitely be talking about on this show because it involves some of our favorite actors. The Gray Man on Netflix, which comes out on the 22nd, I believe, of this month. So next week, is currently at 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 44 reviews.
Not bad.
Not terrible, because typically those are just critic ratings. So Rotten Tomatoes, you typically go with the fans and see what they think, especially with Netflix movies and everything like that. Dylan, two-parter right here. Daniel Kaluuya will not appear in Black Panther 2.
Okay, I was going to say that, so I'm glad you saw that. I was a little surprised by that, but go ahead.
Due to conflicts with Nope, but I do have other Daniel Kaluuya news.
Oh, is it purple?
He confirms his live-action Barney movie is happening, and it will be darker than the TV show. Previously, he said, quote, "Barney taught us, I love you, you love me. Won't you say you love me too?" That was one of the first songs I remember. What happens when that isn't true? How did everyone get into films? Watching kids' films. I don't want to restrict myself to the limitations of what I'm perceived as.
What is with taking these childhood properties and making them demonic? Like now we have Barney and Winnie the goddamn Pooh.
And allegedly, Mickey Mouse is on the table soon because Mickey Mouse's copyright is coming up to where it can be fair use.
Oh, God. That's going to be crazy. So, all these things.
All I'm thinking about is a Jordan Peele, Daniel Kaluuya combo tag team of Barney as a horror film.
Yeah. I don't think I want to watch that. It might be too unsettling for me.
Something that I have talked about ad nauseum on this show as a theory, Dylan, has been confirmed.
Go ahead.
Nintendo Pictures has officially been announced.
Oh, yeah, you have. Kyle is his brand, yeah.
So, obviously, the Super Mario movie coming out with Chris Pratt. We've had, it's Nintendo adjacent now, but the Sonic movies, I would love, you and I have talked about this on and off pod, like a Zelda movie would be incredible. A Metroid movie would be awesome. It's all just, it's coming up. We had Detective Pikachu as well. It's all coming up to lead into a Super Smash Brothers movie. That's all I'm saying. That's all I need.
You're not wrong. They are doing, as a whole, the industry's doing more video game like inspired TV show medians and movies. So I don't think it's definitely realistic.
I think the top 3 movies I would, or show, whatever project it would be from Nintendo Pictures that I would want to see, definitely some sort of Zelda movie, a Metroid, a Metroid movie or show, because I think following around Samus would be amazing. And I would love to see a Star Fox property.
Star Fox would be pretty sweet because you could do like a whole sci-fi vibe, you know.
And you have Star Fox, you have Falco, you have Slippy the Frog.
I want the ice climbers.
You have the rabbit guy from Star Fox. I feel like Star Fox would be an awesome show to kind of just follow along in outer space with those characters. And then it all kind of just lead into this Super Smash Brothers battle world situation that would be fucking awesome. And I just would love to see that happen. And you have, like, thing about the Super Smash Brothers roster, it's primarily Nintendo characters or properties that have been loaned to Nintendo. Like, you have the entire Pokemon universe, you have Super Mario Brothers, you have Donkey Kong's entire, side universe.
Going against the Pokemon trainer in Smash.
Right? Like, you have that, you have trying to think of, you have Sonic, you have Star Fox, you have Kirby. Like, there's so many properties in
King
the
Dedede.
Yeah, literally, like, so much stuff that they can pull from that I would love to see it. This has been a long-standing thing. So if you've listened to this show since the OG
what character
days,
do you play on Smash?
Oh, on the new one,
primarily, like, who's a character that you throughout time?
I bounce around a little bit. On Super Smash Brothers Melee, I was a big user of Roy from Fire Emblem.
You are going to hate me for what I say. I choose a noob troll character. I am an asshole. Anyone listening? I play as Yoshi.
I like Kirby a lot too.
I play as Yoshi and I spam the little ball, little egg.
I think my top 5 that I've used over the years are definitely Roy, Kirby, Mewtwo, Lucario, and he's fun, but he's difficult. I use Snake in Super Smash Brothers Brawl. He was a lot of fun to use. Super Smash Brothers just one of the best of all time.
I use all the proven characters: Kirby, Yoshi, Samus,
Dr. Mario.
Doctor. I do. Guilty. I play as the characters that make you want to, like, rip your hair out.
Yes. Unfortunately, this week, Dylan, we did lose an absolute legend in the game. The creator of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Kazuki Takahashi, passed away at the age of 60.
I saw that. And honestly, to pay tribute, I genuinely Googled Yu-Gi-Oh! And I watched an episode on YouTube. Like, I paid tribute to that man because I've grown and have learned to like different animes now, but, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a gateway. Like, you don't realize it when you're young, but, like, that and Pokemon, they aren't primarily English, you dumb little kid. Like dumb version of Dylan. Like, they dubbed it over to be in English for you, and it's an iconic show. I mean, it's a card game as well, really.
Happy 80th birthday to Harrison Ford.
Dude, that man's a legend.
We also have got, we'll probably do something with Christian next week while Dylan's on vacation with the Emmy nominations, because a lot of shows we've watched, Dylan, have gotten a number of Emmy nominations.
Yeah, Loki has 6, right?
Loki got 6. Stranger Things has 13 nominations, including Outstanding Drama Series. Star Wars Visions has been nominated for Outstanding Short Form Animated Program. We got the MCU Emmy nominations look like this. Hawkeye got 2. What If got 3, including a posthumous nomination for the legend himself, Chadwick Boseman. Loki got 6, and the most for an MCU project this year with a whopping 8 nominations at the Emmys, Moon Knight.
Sorry.
And then the most nominated shows at the Emmys for 2022 from top to bottom. Number 1, Succession with 25.
Damn.
Ted Lasso and The White Lotus with 20. Hacks and Only Murders in This Building, both with 17. And Euphoria with 16.
Ew, Euphoria, gross. There's people that are nude in that show. I don't like that.
Let's see here. What else do I have on the sheet?
I think you usually end up getting the stuff that I see, so I don't think I have anything personally.
We did get an official trailer for Harley Quinn season 3 that releases July 28th on HBO Max. I haven't yet, but it's on my watch queue.
That's a good show. Anyone, Kyle included, if you have not watched that, give it a watch. It's so stupid. That's great.
I also have to say, Stranger Things nailed it with their Vecna design, because some of the early concept designs that have come out now are horrifying and just bad. I think they nailed it with their design. 110%. So good on them there. Natalie Holt will return to compose Loki season 2.
Hell yeah.
Which is fantastic stuff.
Are they filming that right now? I think they're filming.
Yeah, it is filming now. Did you see the video, Dylan, of Joseph Quinn playing Master of Puppets? Yes. Practicing? Just amazing.
He's been trending. He's a superstar. I mean, Doja Cat wishes she could get him.
She wishes.
Also, have you Snap posted today?
Yeah, I'm Team Noah through and through. Doja Cat is a big time goofy for what she did. Noah Schnapp did nothing wrong. He's 17. Doja Cat, you're a grown woman. Why not slide into the DMs of the person you're trying to reach out to? It's not that difficult. Grow up.
I do it all the time. You want to look at my DMs? I've DM'd Chris Hemsworth. I said, yo, bro, give me your workout regimen.
Like, grow up. It's not that difficult. Team Noah. StreamerSZN is hashtag Team Noah through and through. We also have right here. Where did it go?
Where did it go now?
Paul Rudd. Here it is. Did you see that Paul Rudd signed an Ant-Man helmet and sent a letter to a 12-year-old boy whose classmates were bullying him and refused to sign his yearbook? Shout out to Paul Rudd. Protect him at all costs.
In the words of Paul Rudd, Jonathan? If you know, you know.
Taika Waititi's Star Wars film is eyeing filming in early 2023.
And he's not getting Natalie Portman.
And Julius Ona will direct Captain America 4. He previously directed The Cloverfield Paradox and Loose. We've gotten some more stills from the Game of Thrones spinoff, which I know Dylan is super excited about.
Super skeptical. It's more like it.
And next week, Dylan, at San Diego Comic-Con, July 21st, Marvel Studios will be revealing the first look at X-Men 97, Marvel Zombies, and What If Season 2.
That is legit.
Very excited. So next week, Dylan on vacation.
Yep.
So we'll be holding down the fort. We'll have some fun on the show, just talking discussion den stuff, streaming platform stuff. Dylan's going to be watching a whole bunch of movies and shows that you guys recommend to him on his trip.
I have a 4-hour flight from Toronto to Calgary. So,
yeah, Dylan's moving into Johnny Gaudreau's house.
Yeah, we actually just swapped houses. He gave me his house in Calgary.
It's like the student exchange program.
It's like
Dylan's going to Calgary.
It's a Jersey.
Johnny's
swap.
going to Columbus, and then somebody from Ohio is coming to New Jersey.
It's a Jersey swap, if you will. I'm giving him an underground streamer season.
Well, it actually works out because it happened earlier, but Cam Atkinson came from Ohio to New Jersey. You're going from New Jersey to Calgary, and then Johnny's going from Calgary to Ohio. So it all checks out.
Yeah, I'm also going to Montana on this trip. I think the show Yellowstone has parts of it in Montana. So
if you're cowboy boots on.
I do have boots. They are packed.
Are they made for walking?
Oh, no. I'm going to be Nubukufin.
So definitely leave us recommendations for shows and movies for Dylan to watch on his trip and for me to watch now that we are on about a 1 month break from week to week shows,
We're on
Dylan.
sabbatical. Woo!
So we'll be bringing you just fun content, movie and show reviews of stuff that we watch along the way. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, leave the 5-star ratings and reviews. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Underground Sports Philadelphia on YouTube. Follow us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website. Look out for Christian's Thor Love and Thunder written review on the site, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com. And of course, big thank you to Tomahawk Shades, Kenwood Beer, and Bino Board for sponsoring the show. All their information is linked in the show notes on audio and in the description on YouTube. But this has been a fun-filled, universe-swapping, camera and audio mixing episode.
Yeah, it's been up and down.
From your Cowabunga boys here on StreamerSZN, the exclusive TV and movie podcast for streaming platforms on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Dylan, I'm KB, and we're about to go play some more Master of Puppets and transport ourselves through some weird purple rift. But until then, we are getting the heck out of here. And Dylan will see you in 2 weeks. I'll see you guys next week with some sort of special guest filling in for Dylan to enter into the StreamerSZN canon universe. Peace.